بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of September 2021, and in our series Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 257. And in this, we are looking at chapter 2, verse 93, and this is part 1 of that. Just to remind you that Lahore Ahmadiyya community was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh, who taught us that although some people say that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, another prophet will come, but the Holy Quran tells us that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And the Holy Prophet explained that by saying, La Nabi Abadi, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come. And Muslims are very fond of calling each other heretic and so on at the slightest difference of opinion. And Hazrat Sahib said that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had instructed that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you are not a Muslim, then it is the person saying it who is closer to heresy, to being a kafir. So we should avoid this kind of thing. And some people say that some prophetic revelation that came to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not in the Holy Quran, like Ayah Rajam and Surah Walayat and so on. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that God says, I have revealed the Quran and I'm taking responsibility for its protection, for safeguarding it. So it cannot be that anything has been missed out from the Holy Quran. Similarly, people say, some people say that some verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated. And Ghulam Ahmad said, no, this is untrue, this is incorrect. No verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. And he stressed that jihad is a fundamental duty of every single Muslim. The jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who, when returning from fighting, commented that Muslims were returning from the minor jihad, jihad-e-asghar, to the major jihad, jihad-e-akbar, and then went on to explain that the greater jihad is the struggle to control your own desires and thoughts keep yourself under control. That is the greater jihad. And thus he claimed. There are many other things. And Hazrat Sahib claimed that he was the reformer, the mujaddid, who had been sent, and for whom the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used the titles Messiah and Mahdi when he prophesied his advent. So let us turn to the chapter of the the verse of the Holy Quran, the chapter and the verse of the Holy Quran. That is the topic for today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاسْمَعُوا قَالُوا سمعنا وعصينا وأشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم قل بئس ما يأمركم به إيمانكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. And when we made a covenant with you and raised the mountain above you, take hold of that which we have given you with firmness and obey. They said, we hear and disobey, and they were made to imbibe the love of the calf into their hearts on account of their disbelief. Say, evil is that which your faith bids you, if you are believers. So the words wa and is, they are sort of connecting words, and in, and then we have a khazna, and we'll talk about that today, and mithaqakum. So these are the two words. So let me turn to my notes on my laptop. So the first word, akhazna. It consists of two segments, na, which is the pronoun, and akhaz, which is a verb. And its triliteral root is hamza, ha, and wal. And it occurs in the Holy Quran 273 times in 7 different forms. In other words, in the Holy Quran, different words have been formed using this triliteral root. and 7 different words have been made. So we have these words appearing 273 times, 127 times as akhadha, the verb akhadha, and then 124 times as ittakhadha. That takes care of most. 9 times as yu'akhidhu, and what else is there? 6 times as akhaz. And it means, the word means to gain something, to obtain something, to gather something, collect something. And it also means, when we're talking about gathering and collecting and so on, it also means to understand something. In Urdu, we know this. Aapne kya natija akhaz kiya hai? What conclusion have you gathered? What conclusion have you come to in whatever it might be? And it also means, as I said, being caught out, being overcome. For example, in chapter 12, verse 79, the Holy Quran says, Ma'adallahi anna khuza illa man wajadna mata'ana indah. That we seek God's protection from grabbing the wrong person other than the one who took our belongings. In the same sense of being overcome, overpowered, we have chapter 2, verse 225, La ta'khuzuhu sinatam wala noom. And slumber and sleep, nothing overpowers him, nothing overcomes him. But talking about overpowering and overcoming, or grabbing someone, or asking someone to stand to account for. So chapter 11, verse 117, وَأَخَذَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا فَيْحًا. Those who are unjust, zalamu, those who are unjust to people, then they were grabbed by punishment. The punishment overtook them. فَأَخَذَ اللَّهُ نَقَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. Chapter 79, verse 25. That Allah will hold them, grab them for punishment, to account for their deeds. What He will do it both here and in the next world. And again, وَكَذَلِكَ أَخْذَ رَبِّكَ إِذَا أَخَذَ الْقُرَىٰ. Chapter 11, verse 102. When your Rabb, when your Lord holds the disobedient to account, grabs them, holds them to account, then this is how He holds them. And then in a sense of dependence, that, you hold on to someone, you're falling down a mountain and you hold someone's hand, you're being held, but you're being protected. So the Holy Quran says, La tattakhizul yahuda wan nasara awliya chapter 5, verse 51, that don't hold on to Jews and Christians for support, meaning that Muslims should depend on each other rather than other nations, because you cannot be certain why another nation is supporting you. It may be genuine, there may be something else behind it, etc. So basically, God is saying, be careful. He's not saying if your next door neighbor is a Christian or a Jew or whatever, then don't be friendly. If his house catches fire, it's not saying go and pour more petrol over it and don't pour water over it. That's not what it means. So, as I was saying, it is the antonym of giving. It's taking. And gathering something, collecting something, holding something. And it can carry the sense of punishment. Actually, sometimes it's used for death or destruction and killing as well. Muakhaza, the common word in Urdu, and you can take that as getting hold of someone to account for their deeds, and that can include the sense of punishing them for doing something wrong. Let's see what else. Al-Akhigan is a prisoner because he's being held. So, this is this example should clarify to those who only speak English what it means. And held in the sense of arrest. We know the story of Joseph in the chapter of the Holy Quran, and there the same word is used to mean arrested, held, but in the sense that they were arrested. It's like on television, you see it often, don't you? The police go and they grab someone and they say, you're being held pending inquiries or pending something or other, etc. So let's now move to the next word. Where are my notes on the next word? Okay, mithaq. And it too has two segments. Kum, pronoun, and mithaq, a verb. And the triliteral root is wa, fa, and khaf. And it occurs in the Holy Quran 34 times and 25 times as mithaq. So that only leaves us with 9 times, and then 3 times as mawthiq, and twice as wafaq, and twice as wufqa, and that's about it. Actually, I used to read out verses as examples. Wala yuthiqu wafaqahu ahad. Bind. chapter 89, verse 26. So it will bind, promise, ratification, covenant, mostly as covenant, treaty, contract, bond, because they all bind you together. And of course, firm, as in chapter 2, verse 256. And what's the other one? Chapter 31, verse 22. So it means that you depend on someone, so that you trust someone so much that you are at sort of peace, you are satisfied. But awthaqahu, it means to bind someone with something, maybe a rope or whatever it is. And al-bafaqu wal-bifaqu, that is the chain or the rope with which you bind someone or something. For example, in chapter 89, verse 26, وَلَا يُوثِقُ وَفَاقَهُ أَحَدٌ. And there is no binding that will bind like this. Then, of course, we have mithaq. And most famously, we have the mithaq, the promise, the contract, the covenant with the prophets before the Holy Prophet Muhammad. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ, chapter 33, verse 7. And then when we took a promise from the prophets, a covenant, I made a covenant with the prophets. And we know what that covenant was, that when the Holy Prophet Muhammad comes, they will ask, they will tell their they will tell their followers that when the Holy Prophet Muhammad comes, to accept him. To accept him. Accept the Holy Prophet Muhammad. So, that was the covenant between all the prophets. And in Urdu, we say thiqa or fuqa about a person, that he is dependable. You can depend on him. And we also have Vasika Navis. Outside the courts, we have Vasika Navis. What does he do? A Vasika Navis, he actually writes contracts. You go to court and so on. There's a dispute with someone. I'll assume now the party has solicitors, lawyers. So they will go to, let's say there's an out-of-court settlement. So they will go to this Vasika Navis, the writer of the bonds, contracts, that, between this and this is what is agreed. And then it goes into the court, and the judge, it's presented to the judge, and the judge may or may not accept it. They usually do, because it means that that's one less hearing that they have to bother with. So as I was saying, to summarize, that it means a rope, but anything that binds something. A contract binds you. A promise binds you. So you can see how Arabic works. The idea is binding things. Now, it can be physical, that you actually take a rope, like I said, um, you take a rope and you tie someone up. And it can be a legal bind. It may be a contract between two people, between two companies, or whatever it is, etc. It may be a promise. It may not be a formal legal contract. It may be a promise. So it means a firm promise. In I think the expression is more common in America. A pinky swear. You touch your two little fingers together and you swear that you're going to do or not do whatever it is, etc. But it could be depending on something inanimate. Supposing your child is getting married, and so you need money, you need to pay for that. So if you've got enough money, you can depend on that. You're not going to run short. So this is depending on that. Or if you're a farmer and you cultivate and you need to you have enough grain to feed yourself and your family, and also seed for the next year. So now you can depend on that. It's depending on something inanimate, etc. What it is, basically, you can see that if we step back from words to take an overall picture, what is happening is that God is showing Muslims the story of Israelites, what they did and how they behaved. They're slaves in Egypt, and Moses gets them out. For about 10 minutes, they're very happy. But then what happens? Then they start moaning. Oh, he had all sorts of things to eat in Egypt, and they were lovely and they were delicious and so on. And they forget about the fact that Pharaoh was beating them into pulp and whatever else, and and all they can do is moan about the fact that it's the same bland food they get to eat day in, day out. And God says, and the last verse, that I read out, which verse 92. In that, God says that man's nature is that he's impatient, he's ungrateful. Israelites are brought out of slavery and they're ungrateful. They don't appreciate it, and they start moaning about food and so on. And God is giving these examples to tell Muslims that you're exactly the same. You're not any different from these people. So well, with that, I take my leave of you. Our half an hour is over, and whoever you are, whatever your religion or sect or caste or creed or whatever, I pray that Allah keeps the whole of humanity under his protection and keep them safe and sound from all harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.